This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All systems go.
You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything
Could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us this morning. We're here each and every weekday morning on CKLU 96.7 FM on the radio, terrestrial radio, between the hours of 7:30 and 8:30. Usually got off to a bit of a late start this morning because I had a software update that had to take place and I had to install, and then, install and then wait for the installation and all that stuff. So fun stuff. Sorry that I'm a little bit late, but had a really great show planned. Was hoping to have a little more time, but we're going to have less time. So we're just going to do our best to get through it. We're really grateful for you all for being here on the show early, waiting. I apologize for that. I know it's frustrating when you have, it's your life and you're just waiting for a show to come on and got things to do. So I do apologize. Anyways, we are also streaming live at cklu.ca. Click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can stream us, download it, and you can take us with you. Listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, and then on demand on both of those platforms after the show, along with x.com/Sudbury News. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, and follow all of our social medias. And mainly comment, because we'll do our best to get your comments up on the screen for those watching, read for those listening. And speaking of CKLU, tonight is just a reminder of our fundraising event. This is my story too. I swear it's true. It's, again, tonight at Indie Cinemas, 7 o'clock. You can get tickets from our website, cklu.ca, or at the door. You can also get tickets at Jet Landry Music on LaSalle or Adora Vinegar and Wines in the South End at the Four Corners. So come on out, support a great cause. It is CKLU's fundraising event. This is my story and I'm sticking to it. I swear it's true. 2, it's the second annual of that, and we had Judy on yesterday and the day before talking about it, and it's going to be a wonderful, wonderful time. Hopefully we'll get it in again, just to give a shout out for that event on the show again. So let's just kick it off this morning, starting off with a little bit of weather. We are going to be talking about today the meeting with our fearless Prime Minister, Mark Carney, and Donald Trump. You know that tyrant south of the border that we had to elect a certain person to deal with. Well, we'll see how he dealt with him the first time they met as official leaders. They've met before. They actually are friends, but that wouldn't be known to most Canadians in the media here. But yeah, that's just the way that it is. And we'll show how that unraveled yesterday. Just point out a few things and see how the media covered it. You got your right-wing media, you got your pretty much center to right media, and then you have left media, how we all covered it, basically. So we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after the weather. Let's just dive in. We don't have much time today. And weather brought to you by Voyager Tire. Currently it is 5 degrees. It is cloudy. It is going to clear in the afternoon. The high will be 12. Tonight it's going to be partly cloudy and a little bit of wind. -10 overnight. Yes, you heard it. With the wind chill, it'll be -10. The low is -4, but with the wind chill, it'll be -10 overnight. Very chilly. Thursday, clearing in the morning. Wind 40 kilometers per hour. High of 13 with the wind chill -9 in the morning. And then 13 degrees after it's done clearing, partly cloudy. It was supposed to be sunny. Remember, according to yesterday's forecast, it was supposed to be sunny, but now it's going to be cloudy, mix of sun and cloud, 13. And then it's saying for now, sunny and 19 degrees on Friday, and then 40% chance of showers on Saturday, and then sunny and 20 on Sunday. Showers, 40% on Monday, 24 is your high. 27 is your high with a mix of sun and cloud on Tuesday. Again, it's a mixed bag. I just don't know about the weather these days. It's just weird. So there's your satellite taken as of 1:30 a.m. this morning. It's your Sudbury weather brought to you by Voyager Tire. We'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. So thanks for sticking with us, guys. And we got quite a good group here on the show already on Facebook. I'm getting around 20 people, so thank you very much. That's not including YouTube and radio. So good morning, Northern Hillbilly. People wake up. So good morning, people wake up. More time. Okay, so Brian Johnson on here, giving a shout out to Northern Hillbilly. And Judy, and good morning to you, Brian. And Judy, good morning. Vin, morning to you. Monique, good morning. Sudbury. Hazel, good morning. Prayer emoji. Much needed these days. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie. Liked and shared as usual. Liette, good morning. Hand clap emoji from Collingwood. And I'm really glad to hear you sent me a message that everything is going well. I'm really glad to hear that, and I hope it continues to be so. And speaking of positive vibes, here's Belinda. Good morning. What is done cannot be undone, but one can prevent it from happening again. If you think we can't change the world, it just means you're not one of those who will. So if you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So sure, things have been done in the past and you can't change that. But if you think you can't change the world, it just means you're not one of those who will. And then that's the starfish story, right? The boy on the shore and he's throwing a starfish into the ocean one at a time. And someone comes up and says, well, why are you doing that? You know, there's thousands of starfish on the beach. You're not going to save them all. It's not really making a difference what you're doing. And he says, well, it makes a difference to this one. And he throws it in, right? So if everyone had that kind of mentality, that story always stuck out in my mind to go along with that idea. Like, oh, my vote isn't going to count, or my opinion doesn't matter, or I can't really make a difference in the world. Well, yeah, if everyone thought like that, then for sure, just nothing would ever happen that's positive. But if we all realized each one of us can make a difference and just do what you can with what you got, things could move forward in a positive way. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for being on. From Nipigon. Right on. That rhymes. Good morning to you. And Andrew, good morning to you as well. Vin says Levac showed the, okay. Let's see, I got to read these before. So some people on drugs yesterday, excuse me, stole a truck and they never got to leave town. The truck returned and the perpetrators were caught and arrested. Okay. Exciting day in Levac yesterday. And thanks for letting us know, Vin. And the only reason I kind of try and reword some things is just because of algorithms. I'm trying to pay more attention to algorithms, certain words, things like that. So it's not that I don't value the comment. And Nana, good morning. Blessings to you all. Blessings to you, Nana and Hazel. Elbows down for now, right? Yep, elbows down for sure, LOL. We will be looking at that. Just an interesting thing, right? Headlines from different news organizations say different things. They highlight different things. Okay, so it's cool today. Must be that global warming. And that's Brian. Northern Hillbilly says they're all in cahoots together, and that includes Danielle Smith in Alberta. Okay. And it could be, and that's the thing. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes, business deals being made. And then to the public, you have to present it in a certain way. Public always has to go along with whatever people in influential positions or positions of power are doing, right? So that's the value of public relations and media, and making sure that the storyline is in favor of what people want. So, right? So Trump bad, need someone who can take him on is the storyline in Canada. So we vote in a guy that we thought would be the guy, right? So that's how it works. Now, whether or not that's really the case or not, it's what people believe, and what people believe is the important thing, not what actually is going on. It's kind of like there's a huge argument to be made that we never actually went to the moon. That's debated by a lot of people. But the point is, whether we did or not, it exists in people's minds as though we did. And so what's the difference? Unless you went yourself, you only watched it on TV. What is the difference whether we did or not? In the people's minds, it happened. And that's just as good as happening. And the same is with the news and what people feel is happening. NASA in the States gets billions of dollars. And if people, let's say it came out that they didn't actually go to the moon, they'd be like, why are we giving this organization all this money for all these years? But if they believe we actually went to the moon, we're actually trying to do other things like that, well, okay, we can give them billions of dollars all the time because they're trying to move humanity forward, right? So again, lots on the line for people believing certain things. Pat says, missed the show yesterday. Busy packing. Sorry to hear that. We'll try to catch up later. Yeah, we had Zach on the show yesterday. Zach was part of the first Sudbury News Talk broadcast 3 years ago. He was part of Sudbury Sports Talk before that. But he was really the instrument kind of giving a little bit of a push to get this thing going. Because it was like, we didn't really do news talk. How are we going to format it? How are we going to do? Are we just going to do local news? We're going to do, can we be ourselves? Do we have to be talking heads? All these things, right? Will we get canceled if we say certain things? So there's a lot of stuff. But he said, let's just go ahead and do it. Let's just do this thing. And we did, and I'm really grateful for his push. He was on the show yesterday. We're talking about politics, talking about the election. And yeah, as you could see, he really thinks for himself. He doesn't, he's not part of groupthink. He's not in a echo chamber. He has his own points of view. He's very well educated, very well read, reads basically a book a day, the guy, almost like a book a week at least. He reads a book a week, if not two. So, and all different kinds of books, and did very well in school. He's just a sharp cookie. So we had him on the show yesterday, and hopefully I'll have him on the show more often. Trevor, good morning to you. You should be furious about this, but you aren't. Isn't that weird? You are more angry at your friends and family who went against the grain because they saw through the lies. Then are at your government and family. Oh, sorry. That they saw through the lies. That you are at your government and family doctor for not only lying to your face. Okay, so I got what's going on right now. So you're more angry with your family and friends who went against the grain because they saw through the lies that your government and your family doctor had for not only lying to your face, but perhaps endangering your life entirely. So what's up with that? So I'm just kind of interpreting here, right? So that's what happened the last 4 years or so. So May 6, 2025, it's easier to fool people than it is to convince them that they've been fooled. And appreciate that. And you give a link there, so encourage everyone to go over to the link. Yeah, we can be fooled. It's just showing. We just talked about the moon landing or whatever, right? Whether it happened or not. Let's say it didn't happen. Just could have easily not happened. More than happened. Like there's a lot that would have had to been done to actually go to the moon. Like we haven't been back ever since. And NASA's official word on that is that they lost the technology to be able to go to the moon, is what they say. That's official. You can go to the website, look it up. They lost the technology. How could you lose the technology? You get billions of dollars a year. We went to the moon several times, apparently. And anyways, lots controversial conversation. People are split. But hey, we're split already anyways in our world today. Why not just go there sometimes? And Estelle, good morning to you. Grand Rising Monique. And Diane, good morning, everyone. Okay, so a couple last statements here and then we'll move on because I'm coming on late and I apologize for that. Marianne, good thing that the man to handle Trump oh boy, looked like he was a nervous school kid, wringing his hands, bowing his head, looking uncomfortable. And he is the leader of a country. Man, this makes Canada look weak. You can't make this stuff up. It's stupidity. So there you go. And Brian Poulain joining us for the first time in a while, live. Good morning, Sudbury Patriots. In the face of impossible odds, I have returned. Yes, you have. Miracles do happen. And Brian says, I like Smith, Daniel Smith, that is, but there's something not quite right. Must be her being a politician. Yeah, remember the joke, and everybody's probably familiar with it. How do you know a politician is lying? Their lips are moving, right? So it's there's a lot of politician jokes, a lot of lawyer jokes. What's the difference between flying pigs and politicians? The letter F. Oh no. So flying and lying. Very interesting. That's interesting that I said a joke and then right on the same page with the joking there. Okay, so why is King Charles coming to Canada? This is Denise. Social, economic, and cultural disruptions within Indigenous communities. The legacy of the Indian Act and related colonial policies continues to impact Indigenous peoples in Canada, raising questions about land rights, self-determination, and reconciliation. So much appreciated on that. Now we're going to have to move on here. Good morning, Miles, though. We got you here. Something funny going on between Trump and Carney. Like Trump owes him a favor for Brookfield, saving his son's in-laws company in 2019. That is correct. So, if you don't know the story, Brookfield came to the rescue of Jared Kushner's company and bailed him out of his building, 666 whatever road he's on, or the building was on, and they paid him like a year's rent all in one lump sum. And that basically gave him $1.1 billion of cash flow to save him from bankruptcy and losing the building. But that was Brookfield that lent him the money, And so Donald Trump probably very appreciative of Mark Carney for doing that. And they do know each other. There is no doubt about it. And so, so with that, what the heck happened yesterday? You saw Mark Carney, basically, here's our fearless leader going down to give it to Trump. Let's see what he's got to say. He's going to give Trump a piece of his mind, right? So he sits down and he gives him a piece of his mind. Here it goes.
Mark, would you like to say a few words? Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually.
I know.
But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president, focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can move forward.
That's great. Very nice. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I wasn't quick enough on that because I was looking for. That was not the press conference or whatever, people clapping for Carney, although it did kind of sound like that after his words. Just to let everyone know, that was the video playing right after that. So those are pretty harsh words to Trump. I don't know. The elbows were definitely up there. I hope Donald Trump didn't incur any injuries over those statements from Mark Carney. Really giving it to him, just letting him know that he's there to battle him. And good morning, Estelle. Thanks for being on. Okay. I just want to read your comment here just because it looks like what Estelle says. 2 days ago, I was in the hospital. One of my family members was there for a stroke, had a stroke. And then within the hour, I saw two other persons that I know with heart problems. And that morning, one of my friends suddenly dropped and she's no longer on this earth. Wow, we've got a problem here. And again, going back to, I believe, what Trevor was talking about, the controversial solution to the problem, so to speak, might have caused more problems than solved. And here's what you might be alluding to as an example of many people are suffering very mysterious illnesses, strokes, heart problems, and we're losing a lot of people. And it could be very well from, the solution that we had to the problem over the last 4 years. But yeah, a lot of people making that observation. And good morning, Sheila. So yeah, lots of distractions going on here. We don't know what's a distraction or what's actually, going on. But so Carney basically praising Trump. That was the headline of the video. Carney praises Trump for everything that he's done. And that's basically what he did. Right. But then here's the cameras focusing on Carney as Trump's basically talking about Canada-U.S. relations here. So this we'll hear from Donald Trump.
See, the conflict is, and this is very friendly. We're not. This is not going to be like we had another little blow up with somebody else. That was a much different. This is a very friendly conversation. But we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada. And at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of, past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But no, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that. Thank you very much. We're going to have a very substantial.
Yeah, so you can see the look on Carney's face there as Trump is just giving it to him. We don't need Canada's cars. We don't need Canada's anything. I called Justin Trudeau the governor of Canada. He kind of laughed, and then we all know that he still said the 51st state, even though Carney, to his credit, he said that just like the White House or Buckingham Palace, certain things in the world aren't for sale. I thought he was really well spoken on when he mentioned that. Well, Trump just come back and said, never say never. So you know how Trump feels on that one. He's like, definitely still feeling like, doesn't sound like that was a joke after all, right? Or at least it's a tactic. I remember the wall was the big issue before the last election when Trump got in. We're going to build the wall. We're going to build a wall. We're going to get Mexico to pay for it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, there's no wall down there right now, so that was just, they started the wall. There's pieces of a wall here and there, but there's no wall going from, the border of Mexico from one end to the other. So that wasn't accomplished. Now he's moving on to his next thing, which is the Canada 51st state thing and Greenland becoming part of the United States. So those are the things he's focusing on now. He's cracked down on border security in different ways rather than just the wall. So again, Trump is just, I think, part of negotiation. He knew that immigration was a huge topic for the election the first time and that nothing was ever being done about it to the satisfaction of their people. And so building a wall was a huge statement saying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to stop illegal immigration into this country, into his country. And so here, strong words again about Canada being the 51st state, the prime minister being the governor of that state, constantly talking about just some line that's just drawn with a ruler across our border. What is that imaginary line? Things like that. Those are strong words coming from arguably the strongest country in the world. Still, a lot of countries working against making that not true anymore, including ours in our partnership with the other country that wants to take them over, that's infiltrated much of our media and much of our government. But however, they are still the king of the hill. And that particular leader is saying they want to take over our country basically in some way, shape, or form. So here's our leader sitting with them there, right? And so the media, much to my surprise in some ways, our Canadian media were there to ask Carney how the meeting after went. So that was just the public scrum with the media. And then they went to meet afterwards, right? Oh, I got this ready to go next. So then Carney's response to the actual media here. He's very uncomfortable with media. There's no doubt about it. So here we go.
I heard you say, there's a difference between the president's comments around Canada becoming a 51st state as a wish versus a reality. You told him that Canada was not for sale. But many Canadians are offended and deeply angered by the fact that he keeps repeating this comment. So have you asked the president to stop calling Canada the 51st state?
Yes. Today.
Okay, specifically, what did you ask him?
Exactly what you just said.
But what words did you use? How did you ask him?
Look, I gave you an answer. Do you have a follow-up?
I'll say. What was his answer?
Well, we'll look. I don't know. He's the president. He's his own person. I would go back to showing the difference between a wish and a reality. We're very clear. I've been very clear publicly, consistently. I've been very clear in private. It was clear again in the Oval Office. Would be clear throughout. The president he understands that we're having a negotiation between sovereign nations, and that we will only pursue and accept a deal that's in the best interests of Canada, not just in the short term, but in the medium and long term for Canada.
Wow, so that was tough words from Mark Carney, right? Aren't we glad we elected a strong leader to go down there and show Trump how strong Canada is? Elbows up, we're going to teach him a lesson. We're going to be strong with Trump. We're going to impose retaliatory tariffs. We're going to show him. So this is now what's going on. So what people voted for and what we're getting, do you feel do you feel that you're getting what you voted for? Is that what Mark Carney was promising, and based on his comments on how the meeting went? The reporter just basically said, has Trump continued to say any rhetoric about Canada being the 51st state? Can you just tell us if he kept doing that in the meeting? And he basically says Trump's his own person. He says what he wants. That's all he says. And he says, do you have a follow-up question, without even answering the question, first of all? So his relationship with the media, even though he's paying off the media, he's still going to have to answer to some degree, and he can't even take light questions. He's not really a well-versed person in speaking to the media. He's not used to being asked questions about why he decides what he decides or does what he does. And he's going to have to start to learn if he's going to pretend that he's doing something valuable for the people of Canada, which politicians have to do, right? So if he's going to pretend and make people believe it, he's going to have to get much better at questions to the media and be more savvy with his answers, because that isn't going to fly, even with mainstream media. And I'm looking at mainstream media. A lot of the headlines coming from CBC, very, very light on the headlines. Prime Minister Mark Carney called discussions with U.S. President Donald Trump wide-ranging and constructive. So this is our state-run media, right? Carney confirmed that him and Trump will meet again in person at the G7 summit next month. Prime Minister said he will meet with Canada's premiers over the phone tomorrow. Carney and Trump agreed to disagree on the idea of Canada being the 51st state in the Oval Office meeting, right? So that's CBC's headlines, as we know, very light, very, easy on Mark Carney. But if we look at some of the other headlines, right? So one example, a far right organization, Juno News, Trump humiliates Carney with 51st state rhetoric, right? So you can see the difference between media and spin, and it's the same meeting. We just watched two clips. We watched Donald Trump say something. We watched Mark Carney say something. We saw Mark Carney answer a question. Did Donald Trump bring up the 51st state in the meeting afterwards, and how he responded to that? So we're just seeing it for ourselves, right? But the media, if you look at right-leaning media, Trump humiliated Carney. CBC is like, oh no, they just agreed to disagree. And Epic Times, basically, as a more unbiased kind of headlines I found, Trump says never say never, as Carney tells him Canada's not for sale, right? So you have the two at least. Trump says never say never. Carney tells him Canada's not for sale. So that's the most unbiased headline I was able to find as you look for the far left, the far right, and Epic Times. Good on you for being quite in the middle. That's a good summary of the meeting. I'll say it again, right? Trump says never say never, as Carney tells him Canada's not for sale. So good journalism there. The story is just as good. And I would encourage anyone to get a subscription to whether you pronounce it Epoch Times or Epic Times. Very good, unbiased reporting. Many people on the left would say that it's right-leaning just because they give an unbiased view, and they're just used to hearing, in Canada anyways, only views on the left. So it's kind of hard to, at first, realize it's unbiased, really. So there you go. So there's some headlines, and let's just put it all in perspective. I found this video last night, and I thought, you know what? This does a really good job. Now, I'm not really a fan of the whole anonymous thing. Remember Anonymous? It's that mask from the movie or whatever. But at the same time, this particular video explains really what's going on here. Like Canada, with your elbows up, and you're going to give it to Trump, and we got the strong leader who's going to tell Trump how it is. It really puts it in perspective, just so people know, Canadians know where we stand. And this is true, having lived in the United States for 2 years, having really appreciated growing up on a border town with the United States being literally meters away from where I was born. You know what I mean? Just American television, all growing up. I got to see the two sides, really appreciate the values of the United States, and really think they're getting a bad rap with all this that's going on right now. I think they're being, and it's true, like Trump is an interesting character, and I don't fault a lot of people for thinking that's a lot of weirdness coming from that, but it's true. But at the same time, the basic fundamental values of the nation that he's representing right now, there's more good than bad. Let's put it that way. But let's just put Canada and the U.S. in perspective here from anonymous of all sources. But anyways, take it from there.
We will fight the U.S. tariffs with retaliatory trade actions of our own that will have maximum impact in the United States and minimum impacts here in Canada.
There's been a lot of talk coming out of Canada lately, especially from Mark Carney, the acting prime minister. He's out there hyping up Canadians, making it sound like they're a global powerhouse ready to stand toe-to-toe with the United States. And look, I get it. Leaders rally their people. But let's not mistake motivation for reality. Canada, I'm saying this with all due respect. You don't hold the cards. Your economy, about $2.1 trillion. That sounds big until you realize that's the size of New York State. Not the United States, just one state. New York alone, Wall Street, Broadway, a single slice of America, matches Canada's entire economy. And per person, the gap is even wider. The average Canadian contributes $52,000 to GDP. The average New Yorker, closer to $90,000. That's not a minor difference. That's a whole different league. And if we're talking economic standing, Canada isn't even in the heavyweight division. It's more in line with Tennessee or Missouri. Solid, hard-working, but not the global titan Carney's making it out to be. Now, if you're Canadian and listening to this, don't take it the wrong way. I'm not knocking Canada, but your leaders are misleading you, trying to fire up nationalism instead of facing facts. Canada is a great country, but let's not pretend it's something it's not. You've got land, you've got resources, you've got good people, but you don't have the power to take on the U.S. head-to-head economically or militarily. So to my Canadian friends, don't let Carney gas you up with false confidence. Pride is fine, but pride without perspective, that's just a setup for disappointment. Next time the tough talk starts flying, check the scoreboard, because right now, Canada isn't outpacing America. It's just keeping pace with one American state. And that's a whole different conversation.
Well, that was well said. Pride without perspective, right? Like putting things in perspective and just being prideful for the sake of being prideful for your country or whatever, or proud of your country, like having some national pride. It's not a bad thing, but without the perspective of reality, it's kind of dangerous, right? So whether the video was made by a 2-year-old baby or anonymous or whoever made that video, it's more important to what was being said there. Some of the facts of our trade being whatever, 1.2 trillion or whatever he said. And it was a similar GDP to New York State. And comparing it to states rather than to countries. And so if you really look at it in perspective, which is what we need to do, is the realistic perspective. just know what we're up against and know that all of this rhetoric we've been hearing over this last whatever election campaign from our leaders is just a bunch of campaign rhetoric. It's just not the case. We need to work with the United States and find solutions to these problems. Or if we can't, we do need to become the 51st state kind of thing. I think Trump he's making an argument here. And the reason why he's going after us because he knows the partnership that we have with the country that they're most in competition with. And we are kind of cozying up to them so closely that they're coming at them from our country. They've infiltrated our country and they're coming at them through Canada. And he knows this. Let's just take fentanyl for one example. Like it's a proven fact that the Chinese government, not the Chinese people, and we always need to be aware of this. There's two different things. Chinese culture and Chinese people. Very admirable. There's a lot of amazing things. You hear a lot of old Chinese medicines, Chinese ideology, like spiritual and things from the past. There's so much to be celebrated from Chinese culture and Chinese people. Not that we're not talking about them. We're talking about their current government, right? That has an initiative against the United States to get as many of them addicted and killed off through fentanyl, that they ship the raw products to Mexico and Canada, and then they manufacture them in Mexico and Canada and then bring them through the border to give to their citizens to wreak havoc in their country. That's just one, and it's called Operation Ground Zero or something like that. It has a word zero in it. You can look it up, the operation of the Chinese government to infiltrate Canada in order to produce fentanyl and give it to the United States citizens. So this is just one of many tactics of war without guns and bombs to take down the world power that they're in competition with. And Trump knows that Canada is playing a role in this, and whether he doesn't come out and say it, but it's either you're with us or you're with them kind of thing. And so that's kind of what's going on here. It's either we're with one country or another, and we're going to choose what that is. And he's kind of saying, if you don't choose us, we might just be able to just kind of adopt you kind of against your will due to our own national security, basically. And you may not have a choice because we might say, look, we know that there's a concerted effort coming through your country to take down our country. And so we might have to do what it takes in order to prevent that from happening. So that's my own views on it. And I wish I was prepared to give more backup of that particular view, but I'll come tomorrow with some of that and later shows as we go on. But hey, that was an interesting meeting. That was the thing everyone was waiting for. Carney going down and telling Trump how it is, so that's what we got. That's what happened. It happened. So what do you think about all that? We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow on the same platforms, God willing. Remember to stay aware, like, share, take care. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM and CKLU.ca. Appreciate you all for being here and commenting, and hope to see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, stay safe and take care, and we'll see you then. Ciao.